Hello, my lovelies. It is time for round 76 of Have I Read It? So stay tuned. If you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. Have I Read It is one of my multiple TBR games that I play in order to help pick my TBR for the upcoming month. And the way this one works is you get to help pick my TBR. So what I do is I react to a haul that's over 3 years ago, and I tell you if I've read the book, if I haven't read the book, if I've unhauled the book. And out of all the books that I still own that I have not read, you get to vote on which book or books you want me to read in the following month. And I will pick based on the votes and based on how many are in my own but have not read. So if there are 0 or 1 to 10 that I own and haven't read, then I'll pick the number 1 voted book. If there's 11 to 20, I'll pick the top 2 voted books, and so on and so on. So this month I'm actually going to be doing 3 Have I Read It's. Yeah. And I'm nervous because this first one, it's my book haul from February 2020, and I can see it's a lot of books. It was like my thumbnail said massive book haul, and I can see there are a lot of books behind me on the shelves. So I'm a little nervous for this one. Yeah, hopefully I have read or gotten rid of most of those, and there won't be too many. All right, well, let's just jump right into it. Here we go. Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome to my channel. Today I have 37 books to haul for you, so stay tuned. So I had every intention of not buying as many books this year, but somehow I ended up accumulating 37 books in February. Yeah, I went a little nuts. So I'm gonna have to really like rein it in for the rest of the year because I lost my mind. So I have books, let's see, this whole stack here I believe is from subscription boxes. These are all from a used bookstore called McKays that I absolutely love. These 2 are books that were sent to me by a publisher. This whole stack here are books that I purchased from Ollie's, which is this cool like overstock store here. And all of these are books that I got from Amazon. Yeah, I went crazy. Okay, we'll start with these over here. So the first book that I have is The Boatman's Daughter by Andy Davidson. Okay, I feel like this is one that I unhauled, but let me double check. Yes, I did unhaul that one. Next. Also in, I think that same box was Prosper's Demon by K.J. Parker. I have read Prosper's Demon, and I do still own it, but that's probably one that I will be unhauling because it wasn't like a 4 or 5 star for me. All right, next up. And then I think this one came in one of the unplugged YA boxes, and it's Together We Caught Fire by Eva V. Gibson. I feel like I've unhauled that one. Yes, I did unhaul that one. All right, next. Next up we have Are We Nearly There Yet by Lucy Vine. I'm not sure. I have to check on that one. Okay, I unhauled that one as well. All right, next up. So I think that was an unplugged adult, and in the YA I believe was Oasis by Katja de Becara. I feel like I've unhauled this one. I need to check. Yes, I did unhaul that one. Next. And then I think this was in another unplugged adult box, and that is Queen of the Conquered by Kaysen Callender. I have read and Unhauled, Queen of the Conquered. Next. And then in the YA box was Songs from the Deep by Kelly Powell. I feel like I read that one, but I need to check. Yes, I read and unhauled it. Let me get back to the video. Alright, next. Okay, so those are all of the books from subscription boxes that I opened. Now we have these here, which are all the books that I accumulated from McKays, which is a used bookstore. So the first book here is one that I picked up because Chelsea over at Chelsea Darling Reads has raved about it, and so has several other people. They all seem to really enjoy this. So I picked up Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. I have read and still own the Flat Share. Next. Next up we have Sorry Not Sorry by Sophie Renaud. I'm pretty sure that I read this and I think I still own it, but let me check. Yes, I gave it 4 stars when I read it. All right, next up. Okay, next up we have Mr. and Miss American Pie by Juliet McDaniel. I haven't read it, but I'm not sure if I still own it. Okay, so that is one that I do still own that I have not read. So this is the first one that you can vote for. This says, the year is 1969. Dick Nixon was just sworn in as the 37th President of the United States. Neil Armstrong just took one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind. And notable Palm Springs socialite Maxine Simmons just found out that her husband is leaving her for his 22-year-old secretary. After a public meltdown at Thanksgiving, Maxine finds herself not only divorced, but exiled to Scottsdale, Arizona. However, these desert boondocks will not be her end, only her Elba. The former beauty queen sets her eyes on a new crown, that of the Miss American Pie pageant awarded to the nation's best wife and mother. Maxine only has one problem. To win the crown, she'll need to find or build a family of her own. So if you want me to read this, vote Mr. and Miss American Pie. All right, next up. Okay, next up we have Don't You Forget About Me by Mahari McFarlane. I feel like I still own this one, but I have to check. Close that door back there because Sander is watching cartoons or something downstairs. Yes, I do still own this one as well and have not read it. This one says, international best-selling author Mahari McFarlane delivers a funny, romantic, heartfelt novel perfect for fans of Josie Silver or Sally Thorne and anyone who loves Bridget Jones. You always remember your first love, don't you? If there's anything worse than being fired from the lousiest restaurant in town, it's coming home early to find your boyfriend in bed with someone else. Reeling from the humiliation of a double dumping in one day, Georgina takes the next job that comes her way, bartender in a newly opened pub. There's only one problem. It's run by the guy she fell in love with years ago. And make that 2 problems. He doesn't remember her at all. But she has fabulous friends and her signature hot pink fur coat, and what more could a girl really need? Lucas McCarthy has not only grown into a broodingly handsome man, but he's also turned into an actual grown-up with a thriving business and a dog along the way. Crossing paths with him again throws Georgina's rocky present into sharp relief and brings a secret from her past bubbling to the surface. Only she knows what happened 12 years ago and why she's allowed the memories to chase her ever since. But maybe it's not too late for the truth, or a second chance with the one that got away. So if you want me to read this, vote Don't You Forget About Me. All right, next up. Okay, next up we have Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. I'm pretty sure I have read Fix Her Up, and I'm pretty sure I still own it, but I'm going to double check. Yes and yes. All right, next up. Okay, the other 5 books that I got from McKays, actually came from, they have a bin out front with books that people just like either leave there or books that they can't sell, and so they put in there, and it's just free books. And so every time I go, I'll look through and see if I find anything. Usually I don't find anything, but this time I found 5 books. So the first book I have here is The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger. I feel like I still own this one. Hold on. Yes, I have read and still own The Time Traveler's Wife. Alright, next. Okay, these next 2 are travel books that are pretty old, so the information may not be completely up to date, but I figured, you know what, I want to go to these places. I'm sure there are, you know, a lot of things in here are still relevant. Maybe the prices are different to get to things or whatever, but I still thought it would be cool. This one is Lonely Planet, the Netherlands. And okay, so these travel books, I'm just going to count them as read because I've probably either read them or skimmed through them. I still own them all because I want to be able to continue to look through them. I don't necessarily need to read these books like from cover to cover. So I'm just going to mark them as read and still own. Alright, next. And then same host for this one. This is Frommer's Scandinavia. Again, travel one. I'm going to mark it as read and still own. Next. Okay, so now on to this book. This is one I picked up because Xander already has book 3, I think it is. Yeah, he's already got book 3 in this series that he got for free, and now I've just now found book 4. Only thing is we need book 1 and 2 still. So I pulled up it on Goodreads so I could tell you about book 1. So what I have here is Inheritance by Christopher Paolini. Okay. So Inheritance is one that I, at one point in time, had unhauled. But before I ended up getting rid of it, I actually changed my mind and decided to keep it. And I have since purchased a really beautiful paperback edition of Eragon. And so I've read Eragon, but I have not read the second one or Inheritance. So, because I haven't read Inheritance, well, I can't put it on the list yet because I haven't read the second one. But I can put the second book on my list, which is Eldest. So let me tell you about Eragon, and then if you want me to continue with the series, you can vote Eldest. Hopefully that's not too complicated. This says, one boy, one dragon, a world of adventure. When Eragon finds a polished blue stone in the forest, he thinks it is the lucky discovery of a poor farm boy. Perhaps it will buy his family meat for the winter. But when the stone brings a dragon hatchling, Eragon soon realizes he has stumbled upon a legacy nearly as old as the Empire itself. Overnight, his simple life is shattered, and he's thrust into a perilous new world of destiny, magic, and power, with only an ancient sword and the advice of an old storyteller for guidance. Eragon and the fledgling dragon must navigate the dangerous terrains and dark enemies of an empire ruled by a king whose evil knows no bounds. Can Eragon take up the mantle of the legendary dragon riders? The fate of the empire may rest in his hands. So if you want me to continue this series, vote Eldest. Alright, next up. And the last book that I got free from McKays was this Cook With Me Sugar-Free Favorite Snacks, Sweets, and Desserts for Children and Grown-Ups Too by Sharon D. Gersten's thing. I'm sorry, I know I killed that, but... So this is a cookbook, so I do still own it. I'm going to count this as another one that's read and kept because cookbooks, again, they're not something that you necessarily read from cover to cover. So, or from, you know what I mean. So, yeah. All right, next up. Now, onto this side. So we'll start with these that were sent to me by a publisher. So TorTe had reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in receiving these, and I was like, yes. Oh my gosh, it sounded really cool. And I have since read the first book in this, I think it's a duology or a series. But I've read the first book and it was really, really good. And I'm really excited to read the second book. So the first book is The Deceivers and the second one is Scammed. And these are by Kristen Simmons. I have read and still own both of these. I love that series. Also, we've used those as season-a-thon group books. Well, The Deceivers anyway. And had Kristen on the channel. I've had Kristen a couple of times. But fantastic series. Highly recommend. Okay, yay. Alright, next. Okay, now on to the stack of books that I bought at Ollie's. Poor Marty. He was standing around waiting for me and I just kind of kept piling books into his arms. So the first one we have here is Love Letters to the Dead by Ava Delaria. I'm not sure if I still own this one. I do still own it and I have not read it. This one says, it begins as an assignment for English class. Write a letter to a dead person. Laurel chooses Kurt Cobain because her sister May loved him, and he died young, just like May did. Soon, Laurel has a notebook full of letters to people like Janis Joplin, Amy Winehouse, Amelia Earhart, Heath Ledger, and more, though she never gives a single one of them to her teacher. She writes about starting high school, navigating new friendships, falling in love for the first time, learning to live with her splintering family, and finally about the abuse she suffered while May was supposed to be looking out for her. Only then, once Laurel has written down the truth about what happened to herself, can she begin to accept what happened to May. And only when Laurel has begun to see her sister as the person she was, lovely and amazing and deeply flawed, can she begin to discover her own path in this stunning debut from Ava Delaria, Love Letters to the Dead. So if you want me to read this, vote Love Letters to the Dead. Alright, next up. Next we have It's a Wonderful Death by Sarah G. Smith. I'm pretty sure I still own this one and I haven't read it. Yes, I still own it and I have not read it. This says, if you had one chance to change your future, would you? Now in paperback. 17-year-old RJ always gets what she wants. So when her soul is accidentally collected by a distracted Grim Reaper, somebody in the afterlife better figure out a way to send her back from the dead or heads will roll. But in her quest for mortality, she becomes a pawn in a power struggle between an overzealous archangel and death himself. The tribunal presents her with two. She can remain in the lobby, where souls wait to be processed until her original lifeline expires, or she can replay 3 moments in her life in an effort to make choices that will result in a future deemed worthy of being saved. It sounds like a no-brainer. She'll take a walk down memory lane. How hard can changing her future be? But with each changing moment, RJ's life begins to unravel until this self-proclaimed queen bee is a social pariah. Is walking among the living worth it if she has to spend the next 60 years as an outcast? So if you want me to read this, vote It's a Wonderful Death. Give me 1 second because I need to change my battery out and I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. Continuing on. Okay, next up we have The Me I'm Meant to Be by Sophie Jordan. I feel like this was one that got unhauled, but I have to check. I think I might just have to stop saying I'm going to have to check because I'm pretty much going to have to check for everything. Okay, it looks like I do still own this one. It should be in the closet in my guest room. This says, Girl Code, Never Date a Friend's Ex. Willa Evans has no intention of breaking the code, so what if she's always secretly loved her next-door neighbor, Zach? As her best friend's boyfriend, he was always off limits, and it needs to stay that way, even though they just broke up. Even though every time she turns around, he's there, tempting her. No keeping secrets from your bestie. Flora Hidalgo has a lot on her. Her breakup with Zach, her dad's new dating life, and her struggling grades. So why can't she stop thinking about her hot know-it-all tutor? At least she's got Willa, her constant in the chaos. Breaking the code breaks friendships. Two friends find themselves tempted by love that defies the rules in this steamy romance perfect for fans of Jenny Han and Simon Alkalies. So if you want me to read this, vote The Me I Meant to Be. Okay, I'm going to try closing this door, though there's a dog in the way. Okay, that's not going to work. Alright. Get back to the video. Next up. Next up we have Shatter by April Lynn Pike. I have unhauled that one. I didn't read it. I read the first book, Glitter, but I have recently unhauled Shatter. Next up. Okay, next up we have Kissing in America by Margot Robb. I feel like this is one that I've unhauled. Yes, I have unhauled that one. Alright, next up. Okay, next up we have The Serpent King by Jeff Zettner. I have read and still own The Serpent King. And this, I think it was this book that we actually used for one of our season-a-thon group books. And Jeff was on a live show with us, which was very cool. All right, next up. Okay, next up, this is one that I was so excited to find. Like, I didn't know this book existed. So there's, well, it's called Giant Days by Non Pratt. I'm pretty sure I still own this one, and I have not read it. I am not sure if this is one that I have to read, like, as part of the graphic novel series or not. Okay, I feel like maybe I don't have to have read the entire graphic novel series. I've read several of them. Like, I think I'm on 7 or 8 of that series. But I think this is based on, like, the first one, maybe? I don't know. It says, based on the hit graphic novel series from Boom Studios, the publisher behind Lumberjanes, Giant Days follows the hilarious and heartfelt misadventures of 3 university first years. Daisy, the innocent homeschool girl, Susan, the sardonic wit, and Esther, the vivacious drama queen. While the girls seem very different, they become fast friends during their first week of university. And it's a good thing they do, because in the giant adventure that is college, a friend who has your back is key. Something Daisy discovers when she gets a little too involved in her extracurricular club, the Yogic Brethren of Zeus. When she starts acting strange and life around campus gets even stranger, missing students, secret handshakes, monogram robes everywhere, Esther and Susan decide it's up to them to investigate the weirdness and save their friend. So if you want me to read this, vote Giant Days. And since it says first year, I think that's the first couple of the graphic novels. But I've gotten past their first year already, so I can read that. Alright, next up. Next up we have Girl Made of Stars by Ashley Herring Blake. I have not read this, I'm pretty sure. And I do believe that I still own it. Yes, I think it's actually on my shelf in here somewhere. This says, Mara and Owen are the closest twins in the world, so when he's accused of rape, she doesn't know what to think. Can her brother be guilty of something so heinous? Torn between her love for her family and her sense of justice, Mara must confront a trauma from the past that prevents her from being free and strong enough to face the reality of her present. With sensitivity and frankness, this novel addresses sexual abuse, the guilt faced by victims, and the limits of consent. So if you want me to read this, vote Girl Made of Stars. Okay, so far we've got 8 on the list, and there's still quite a few books to go through. Alright, next up. Next up we have We Were Beautiful by Heather Hepler. I feel like this is one that I have unhauled. And it looks like I'm wrong. It looks like I do still own this one and have not read it. This says, it's been a year since 15-year-old Maya Hopkins was in the car crash that killed her older sister and left her terribly scarred. The doctors tell her she was lucky to survive. Her therapist says it will take time to heal. The police reports claim there were trace amounts of alcohol in her bloodstream, but no matter how much she tries to reconstruct the events of that fateful night, Mia's memory is spotty at best. She's left with accusations, rumors, and guilt so powerful it can consume her. As the rest of Mia's family struggles with their own grief, Mia is sent to New York City to spend the summer with a grandmother she's never met. All Mia wants to do is hide from the world, but instead she's stuck with a summer job in the bustling kitchens of the cafe down the street. There she meets Fig, blue-haired, friendly, and vivacious, who takes Mia under her wing. As Mia gets to know Fig and her friends, including Cooper, the artistic boy who is always on Mia's mind, she realizes that she's not the only one with a painful past. Over the summer, Mia begins to learn that redemption isn't as impossible as she once thought. But her scars inside run deep and aren't nearly as simple to heal, especially when Mia finally pieces together her memories of the night Rachel died. So if you want me to read this, vote We Were Beautiful. All right, next up. And then the last one from Ollie's is Anatomy of a Scandal by Sarah Vaughan, or Vaughan. I think I still own this one, and I don't think I've read it. Okay, this one says, an astonishingly incisive and suspenseful novel about a scandal amongst Britain's privileged elite and the women caught up in its wake. Sophie's husband, James, is a loving father, a handsome man, a charismatic and successful public figure, and yet he stands accused of a terrible crime. Sophie is convinced he is innocent and desperate to protect her precious family from the lies that threaten to rip them apart. Kate is a lawyer hired to prosecute the case, an experienced professional who knows that the law is all about winning the argument, and yet Kate seeks the truth at all times. She is certain James is guilty and is determined he will pay for his crimes. Who is right about James, Sophie or Kate, and is either of them informed by anything more than instinct and personal experience? Despite her privileged upbringing, Sophie is well aware that her beautiful life is not inviolable. She has known it since she and James were first lovers at Oxford, and she witnessed how easily pleasure could tip into tragedy. Most people would prefer not to try to understand what passes between a man and a woman when they are alone. Alone in bed, alone in an embrace, alone in an elevator, or alone in the moonlit courtyard at an Oxford college, where a girl once stood before a boy, heart pounding with excitement, then fear. Sophie never understood why her tutorial partner, Holly, left Oxford so abruptly. What would she think if she knew the truth? So if you want me to read this, vote Anatomy of a Scandal. Okay, so that's 10 so far. So if there's even one more, I'm going to have to pick the top two from this one. Also, I'm going to have to get ones from the other two that I'm doing this month. So this could pile up, especially if I have to pick more than one from those as well. All right, continuing on. Now on to this stack from Amazon. Okay. So the first book in this pile is The Winter Duke by Claire Eliza Bartlett. I feel like I might have unhauled that. Okay, I'm sorry if the angle changed, but apparently my SD card filled up and stopped recording. So as far as The Winter Duke goes, I have unhauled that. Alright, let's continue on. Okay, this I think is the only book that I pre-ordered that came in February. And that is The King of Crows by Libba Bray. Okay, I have read The King of Crows and still own it. I love that series. Alright, next up. Well, pretty much the rest of these was my, I was on a buying binge. I don't know. I don't know what happened this month. Okay, so the first one I have here is Well Met by Jen DeLuca. Okay, so if this is the first book in the series, I have read the first book. If it's not, then I don't think I've read it. Let me check. Okay, that is the first book. I did read it. I still own it. I gave it 5 stars. All right. Next up. Next up is a book that I totally bought because of Chelsea from Chelsea Darling Reads, which has kind of been a theme for a lot of these books. That is A Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. I can't remember if I read Tweet Cute or not. I think I at least meant to at one point. Okay, it looks like I still own it and have not read it, which means I'm going to have to pick the top 2 voted books at this point. Anyway, this says, meet Pepper, swim team captain, chronic overachiever, and all-around perfectionist. Her family may be falling apart, but her massive fast food chain is booming. Mainly thanks to Pepper, who is barely managing to juggle real life while secretly running Big Leagues Burger's massive Twitter account. Enter Jack, class clown and constant thorn in Pepper's side. When he isn't trying to duck out of his obscenely popular twin's shadow, he's busy working in his family's deli. His relationship with the business that holds his future might be love-hate, but when Big League Burger steals his grandma's iconic grilled cheese recipe, he'll do whatever it takes to take them down, one tweet at a time. All's fair in love and cheese. That is, until Pepper and Jack's spat turns into a viral Twitter war. Little do they know, while they're publicly duking it out with snarky memes and retweet battles, they're also falling for each other in real life, on an anonymous chat app Jack built. As the relationship deepens and their online shenanigans escalate, people on the internet are shipping them. Their battle gets more and more personal until even these 2 rivals can't ignore they were destined for the most unexpected, awkward, all-the-feels romance that neither of them expected. A fresh, irresistible rom-com from debut author Emma Lord about the chances we take, the past life can lead us on, and how love can be found in the opposite place you expected. So if you want me to read this, vote Tweet Cute. All right, next up. Next up is another book that a lot of people talked about and really, really enjoyed. And that is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I have read and still own The Silent Patient. It's in my guest room. Love that series or book. I recommend it often. All right, next up. This book I have already read. It's actually the second book in a trilogy, and I had the first and the third book, and then for this one I just listened to the audiobook until I was able to get it, and finally I was like, you know what, I've read it, I loved the whole series, and I just need to buy it because I know at some point I'm going to want to reread it. And that is A Court of Mist and Fury, and I have read, as I said, and still own. I love this series. All right, next up. Okay, so these next 2 books did come from Amazon, but they are used books. I ordered them like from third-party sellers. This first one is Storm, which is the first book in the Elemental series by Bridget Kimmerer. I have not read Storm, and I'm pretty sure I still own it. Yeah. This says, Earth, Fire, Air, Water, they have more power than you dream. Ever since her ex-boyfriend spread those lies about her, Becca Chandler is suddenly getting all the guys, all the ones she doesn't want. Then she saves Chris Merrick from a beating in the school parking lot. Chris is different, way different. He can control water, just like his brothers can control fire, wind, and earth. They're powerful, dangerous, marked for death. And now that she knows the truth, so is Becca. Secrets are hard to keep when your life's at stake. When Hunter, the mysterious new kid around school, turns up with the talent for being in the wrong place at the right time, Becca thinks she can trust him. But then Hunter goes head to head with Chris, and Becca wonders who's hiding the most dangerous truth of all. The storm is coming. So if you want me to read this, vote storm. All right, looks like just one more book left. Let's see what it is. And then the other one is part of a series I'm currently reading. And, well, I wanted to make sure I had the entire series before I got to, I wanted to make sure I had this book before I got to it, because I'm doing buddy reads of this series. And that is Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. I have read and still own Crown of Midnight because I have that whole series. Okay, so in the end, I think I had 12 books total for this one. So the books you could vote for, we have Mr. and Miss American Pie, Don't You Forget About Me, Eldest, Love Letters to the Dead, It's a Wonderful Death, The Me I Meant to Be, Giant Days, Girl Made of Stars, We Were Beautiful, Anatomy of a Scandal, Tweet Cute, and Storm. I am very curious to see how you will all vote and which book or books you will pick for me. So whatever you want me to read, you can vote for as many books as you like. Just comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!